Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel and today we're gonna take a look at what we know so far about the Eurovision Song Contest 2023 as of December of 2022. Now, I did reiterate several times in the past month as well as during the show of Junior Eurovision that the what we know so far video was going to be late because of exams, and in fact, as of recording this, I only finished my last exam yesterday. So yeah, here we are, and if you hear a lot of stuttering, that's totally normal because, well, um, I'm trying to do this based off my memory, so this video doesn't drag on for too long. For any details, you can always visit my blog post, as usual, link in the description. But for today, I'm just gonna be kind of reading off and riffing off of the Wikipedia page for Eurovision 2023. Now, the basic stuff. I think a lot of you watching this already know this, but yeah, Eurovision 2023 is going to be in Liverpool in the UK because Ukraine can't host, and there will be 37 countries, and Bulgaria, Montenegro, and North Macedonia are withdrawing basically due to financial issues, and the show itself is going to take place on the 9th, 11th, and 13th. Now, if you're watching this and planning to get a ticket, really do be quick because the Liverpool Arena, or as it's usually called, the M&S Bank Arena, is actually pretty small compared to recent arenas for Eurovision. So there's also rumors, although I can't confirm any of it. There's also rumors that they might be prioritizing Ukrainians to have tickets to the show. So yeah, if you want to get tickets, be fast is what I say. Even though they're not out yet, so just look out for them. Yeah, that's kind of my advice. And also the advice of Aussie Vision. So yeah. Eurovision 2023, as you can see in the logo, there's the Ukrainian flag because, of course, Ukraine won in May. But at the bottom it says United Kingdom because the UK are hosting, and the main broadcaster is the BBC, although UAPBC, the Ukrainian broadcaster, are also sending representatives, which, as of recording this, were only revealed yesterday, actually. Mainly is free representatives from UAPBC. You can just check the Eurovision site if you're interested about that. So yeah, with that said, as you can see here, there was a really long phase where the host city was being selected. Some other favorites included Glasgow as well as Manchester. However, finally Liverpool was selected. And in terms of production, again, as I said before, BBC is going to do most of it, specifically BBC Studios. However, UAPBC is also going to send representatives to basically ensure that Ukraine is sufficiently represented in the shows themselves. So yeah, as you can see here, Oksana Sybinska, Tatiana Simonova, and Germanov. I think that's how you pronounce it. Those are the representatives from UAPBC. Yeah, the budget is £14 million if you care. And yeah, the logo, the generic logo, was revealed in October, although I think we're probably gonna get some more art and maybe the slogan next month. So I guess look out for that. And yeah, one thing that is interesting though is that Muzvar reported that there will be 4 presenters, 2 of which will come from the come from Ukraine, and 2 of which will come from the UK. It's kind of weird trying to talk about 2 countries that both start with the letters UK. So forgive me if I kind of mixed them up a little bit. But anyway, Muzvar reports that the Ukrainian presenters will be Masha Efrosinina and Timur Miroshnichenko, The first of which was a co-host of Eurovision 2005, and the second of which was a co-host of several junior Eurovisions, um, as well as Adult Eurovision 2017, where I think he was the green room host, and he's also been the resident commentator for Ukraine. And the most recent thing that he hosted was, the Ukrainian selection for Eurovision 2023, which we will get to soon enough. Now, in terms of the format, there are voting changes. I think you've probably already heard about this, but basically, while the jury vote will remain in the final, there will be no more jury vote in the semifinals. This is completely new, because previously it had been either fully jury or fully televote, and this time it's kind of like a hybrid. And I already made a blog post about this, but basically, what I think is, it's not that detrimental. You know, you lose some, you win some. It should be the other way around, but you get it. Sometimes you lose out on songs like Mal, from Albania 2018, or The Wrong Place, Belgium 2021, which Twitter really loves for some reason. I'll be honest, I'm not particularly a fan of either of those. But yeah, people like those, but at the same time, if we didn't have a jury, then we wouldn't have had songs like, well, the elephant in the room, really. Azerbaijan 2022, Fade to Black, or Switzerland 2022, Boys Do Cry. I think at least Boys Do Cry actually got a handful of televote points, while Fade to Black obviously famously got 0, but still qualified because of the jury. And now they're basically like trying this out and just removing the jury outright and seeing what happens. And basically my thoughts is that it's not the correct way to solve the issue, but at the same time, using this way to solve the issue doesn't bring as many problems as some are perhaps trying to infer. Again, it probably, let's face it, it probably brings in more like fan favorites into the final. And ultimately, even if a ballot is good enough, it's going to get voted sufficiently by the televote to enter the final. So, songs like Die Together, Saudade, Saudade, songs like that, they still got into the top 10 in the televote. So I don't think it's really that much of an issue in that regard. If you're a ballot lover, I honestly don't think there's much of an issue, to be honest. If a ballot is good enough, it's gonna get voted on. And the second voting change is the rest of the world televote. Now, I should remind you that I am not European, as you may or may not infer from my accent. So, personally, I think this is great because it encourages international participation, but at the same time, it doesn't actually, materially change the results of the final results, because this only adds up to the televote of one country. So basically 58 points, 12, 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this really doesn't change all that much. So yeah, I think it's great. I might vote in May. Depends on how expensive it is. But yeah, we'll see what happens. On balance, I think this is a great idea. The removal of juries from the semifinals, I think, it's not the right way to go about it. However, this way to go about it isn't as detrimental as some make it out to be. that's my take on the voting changes. Let me know what you think. And also, backing vocals on the backing track are still permitted. Um, well, think of that what you will. I'm kind of neutral about it. So, yeah. Anyways, the allocation draw is going to happen in January as usual. And yeah, that's kind of about it with the format for now. And now let's go on to the countries. Again, like I said, I'm gonna do this based off what I remember right now, as opposed to actually opening up the blog post and reading off of that. So here we go. Albania. Festivalia Kungis is happening right now. As I record this, it is the third night, which for Eurofans is the night that doesn't matter because it's the covers night. However, all the songs that are participating this year have been performed in the past 2 nights. And currently the favorites are Fifi would stop, even though Fifi's been allegedly disappointing. There's also Albina and her family. I can't remember her surname, but yeah, Albina and her family with the song Duye. And also Elsa Lila with the song. I can't remember the song name, but yeah, Elsa Lila, Albina and her family. Yes, it's actually the family singing with her, but yeah, and also Fifi. But basically, the main change between this year and the last year is that a televote was implemented, and now instead of the jury selecting a winner to go to Eurovision, the winner will now be selected by televote, basically by SMS voting. We don't really know for sure how this will go. The demographics, which will vote. On one hand, it's usually said that in some countries it tends to be older people who watch national finals. But at the same time, older people might not be as willing to pick up their phone and vote, so no one really knows for sure. Regardless, the last night of Festivalia Congress, I believe, is tomorrow night. So, unless I'm fast enough to post this video before then we might already have had the Albanian representative, pending, of course, a classic revamp of the song, as is common nowadays. Armenia, we know nothing about. Australia, they're doing an internal selection instead of their usual national final. Australia decides. Some interested names include Dami Im, Jaguar Jones, Voyager. These are the main three that I've been hearing. And also, weirdly, I think Erica Padilla, that TikTok wildcard from last year, who did not do particularly well. But yeah, regardless, Australia is doing an internal selection this year. There are pros and cons to each selection method, but I think for this year, Australia is just trying to secure further participation in Eurovision, because this year is nominally the year where their contract, their invitation from the EBU ends. So I think they're just trying to secure a renewal of that invitation and just do as best as they can to ensure they can continue to participate in Eurovision. But I don't know for sure. Regardless, there's no Australia decides this year, so we'll see what happens with that. Austria, they're doing their usual internal selection. However, this time, it has been reported that all applicants have to sing live auditions of their songs. So possibly because Pia Maria wasn't the best at her vocals. So yeah, this year all applicants must sing live, and then the audition videos will be sent to various Eurovision related people around Austria and the rest of Europe. And I think we're probably gonna get the name in maybe January or February. Regardless, they said early 2023, so it can't be that long, can it? So yeah, that's what we know about Austria. We don't know much else. And for Azerbaijan, I think one thing that's very interesting is that while they've opened their application process as usual, one thing that they've done this year is that they've allowed people to send their own songs instead of someone else sending a song and then like kind of arbitrarily um, pairing some random singer with it. So this year we might get someone who actually writes their own song for once, which could be very interesting. Um, there's actually already been several artists who have expressed their interest. I put them on the blog. So yeah, let's see what happens. Maybe Azerbaijan won't automatically NQ this year, but we'll have to see what happens. With Belgium, everything's kind of a mess. They're doing a national final, their first national final since 2016, which was called Eurosong, and this year it's also called Eurosong. And there are 7 participants, one of which is the Starlings. One of the members is Tom Dice, who you might remember represented Belgium in 2010 with the song Me and My Guitar. And this year, he's pairing up with his musical partner as well as romantic partner named Kato, I think. Kato. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Kato. As the musical duo, the Starlings. Well, they've been going for quite a while, but they only recently got married, I think. So yeah, the Starlings are one of the one of the contestants in the national final. There's also one whose name I can't remember is actually of Albanian descent and is in fact going to show up at Festival Ikangas 61, which is this one by the way. But she is of Albanian descent, although she lives in Belgium. So yeah, that's interesting. Initially, they were instructed to bring 2 songs each. And then initially it was said that they would have the public choose which song they would sing in the final, and then later they decided, nah, let's not do that, and artists can just choose their own song that they'd like to sing at the final. So yeah, it's a big mess. I haven't actually listened to the snippets, but from what people are saying, they're not particularly good, and we probably won't be seeing Belgium particularly high in the scoreboards. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll go listen to the snippets later in my own time. But for now, let's move on to Croatia, which has announced their national final participants. As usual, they're going back to Dora, which is their national final. And one particular name that has returned is Damir Kejo, who, of course, won Dora 2020 with the song Divli Vietre. However, this time he's back with a song named, I think, Angels and Demons, which is, as the title might suggest, not really, in the Croatian language. So yeah, he's in along with, I believe, 13 other participants, and also 4 reserve participants in case anyone pulls out. There's also, I think one of the participants is called Let Free or something like that, which is a pretty popular Croatian rock band or something like that, or so I've heard. So I guess you can watch out for them as well. And for Cyprus, I realize I haven't moved my mouse in a little bit, but for Cyprus, we're getting Andrew Lambrou, who was in Australia Decides 2022 with the song Electrify, and I think came 7th place out of 11. But this year, his song is gonna be pretty Swedish because Recently, he went to Stockholm to meet up with some Swedish songwriters whose names are also in Melody Festival in 2023. So, yeah, I think we're expecting something pretty Swedish. You could say that it has a Swedish flavor. Notably, on the blog post, I put a question mark after flavor. So, make of that what you will. Anyways, the song is coming out in January. So, I guess watch out for that. And moving on to the Czech Republic, they're still doing ESEZ, their normal selection format. However, it has been scaled down. Usually it's like 6 or 7 participants, but this year there's only 3, and applications have been closed at the start of this month. And I think we're gonna get the list of the participants probably sometime in January, early January. So let's see what happens. I put a list of potential participants, of potential names that have submitted songs to the Czech broadcaster, thanks to an Italian Czech stand for that. I can't remember their name. But yeah, I got them. I got the names from them, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I think we're gonna get the names probably either within December or maybe sometime in early January. So yeah, watch out for that. For Denmark, we don't really have much except one Greek Danish singer named Shaya Hansen has said that she has submitted a song to the Danish broadcaster. We don't know if she's going to be selected, but the selection process has begun. And as you can see, it's going to take place on the 11th. As will Dora 2023, Estilau 2023, MESC 2023, and Selectia Nacional 2023. So yeah, put down 11th of February on your calendar, because I think that's our Super Saturday this year. So speaking of Estilau 2023, we got all the songs for Estilau earlier this month, and the current favorites are Sissy or Cici, I don't know how to pronounce it, with the song Lighthouse. Ollie with the song Venom. Alika with the song Bridges, and MLs with the song So Good at What You Do. I personally would also nominate Annette X Freddy with the song You Need to Move On. It's another one of those chill songs that no one in the fandom likes except me. But then the jury tends to really like that kind of song. Taste, if I do say so myself. So yeah, watch out for them. I don't think they're gonna win, but I think they will score surprisingly highly in Estilau. So yeah, you can check out the songs for yourself. But right now, the favorites are Lighthouse, Bridges, Venom. Well, to an extent, Venom. So Good at What You Do. I'm sure I'm missing something, but yeah, those are the ones that come to my mind right now. And next, we move on to Finland, who is having UMK, their national final, on the 25th of February. And usually, you don't really get a whole lot of rumors from Finland. However, a few days ago, as I record this, a Finnish newspaper has reported on some potential names for UMK 2023. And honestly, looking at them and looking at the description that were given earlier by people from Yle, it actually kind of matches up. The notable one, I think, is Robin Pakulin, who is this huge pop star in Finland. Recently, he's mostly been singing in English. If you want a song recommendation, I think "Hard to Love" is a good one from him. Um, but yeah, he's. I think someone described him as a basically Finnish Justin Bieber who isn't problematic. So yeah, Robin Paquin is kind of the big name in there, but there's also Lysandra, spelled Lxandra, and also I think they're called. There's a band called Portion Boys or something like that. Yeah, so those are some of the names that were reported, but I think we'll just have to see whether that comes true or not. With Georgia, we are having a kind of de facto national final. Usually, Georgia selects their representatives using Georgian Idol. However, this year they're starting to use The Voice Georgia, I think. And auditions have already begun, where, the applicants, the contestants can sing whatever they want. Um, that is, of course, approved by the board. I don't actually quite know how The Voice works, but anyway, yeah, Georgia is using The Voice as their kind of de facto selection method. And from what I remember, it's expected to conclude either in January or February, so I guess look out for that. And for Greece, it's very interesting because as I speak, they are having an internal selection, but this time there is a what is called a demoscopic jury, where they invite several members of the public as part of the jury, and their evaluations will count for about a little bit over 50% of the final vote, to kind of imitate the new Eurovision voting system, where because of the rest of the world vote, it becomes 50.6% public versus 49.4% jury, and they wanted to kind of emulate that. So yeah, usually it was just a 7-member committee at ERT deciding who should go to Eurovision. But this year, they've kind of narrowed it down to 7 names, and as of recording this, about in a week or so, I think it was 70-ish people selected for the demoscopic jury will go to the ERT studios to listen to the songs and to kind of give their rating on which ones are the best and which ones are not as good. And immediately after that, we will get the 7 names. So yeah, mark that on your calendar if you care. On the 28th or 29th ish, we're probably gonna get the 7 names in the running to represent Greece at Eurovision 2023. So yeah, look out for that. And I think shortly after that, we'll also get the full result of the vote as to who actually got selected. So yeah, look out for that. For Iceland, we don't really have a whole lot. We have the dates. As you can see here, on the 4th of March, we will get the final of their national finals, Selva-Keppnin. Apparently, there are rumors that Katla, who you might remember the song. You might remember her song Thavanath. This year, allegedly Katla is back in the studio, so that could be interesting. But other than that, we really don't have a whole lot of rumors. So yeah, that's it for Iceland. And now for Ireland, we're gonna be having the national final named the Eurosong. Not to be confused with the one in Belgium. It's gonna have, I think, 6 acts. And there's a pretty good chance there will not be any Irish language songs because Michael Keeley, the head of delegation for Ireland, actually did an interview lately and said that out of 300 something applications, they only got 1 Irish language submission. So there's a pretty good chance that song isn't among the best 6 among the 300. So yeah, I think if anyone was expecting that we would get an Irish language song in the national final because of the success of Solus, you'll be disappointed. Maybe next year we'll get something, but right now, nah. Um, so yeah, we're gonna have 6 songs, and provisionally it's gonna be taking place on the 3rd of February. So you can look out for that. And as usual, it's gonna be on the Late Late Show. You know, during the interview, Michael Keeley also said that they want to make a separate show for it, but right now they just don't have the money. So yeah, it's gonna be on the Late Late Show as kind of a Eurovision special edition, and we don't really know when the songs will be released, but if all goes according to last year, we're probably gonna have them be premiered on some radio show. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. There hasn't been a whole lot of hype around Ireland as if there ever had been. But regardless, let's move on to Israel, which has selected Noah Kirel since like August, July, something like that. But ever since that, we really haven't gotten a whole lot of information. She said that her song is gonna have Mediterranean colors, whatever that means. But other than that, we don't really know a whole lot else. There were rumors that there was gonna be a songwriting camp, um, featuring songwriters that she had previously worked with, but beyond that, we really don't know a whole lot. So yeah, that's it. We don't know when the song's gonna come out. We don't know if there's gonna be like multiple songs and there's gonna be like an Eden Eleni style national final. We don't know anything. So let's move on to Latvia, which are doing their national final Supernova. Um, we don't have the names yet, but it was reported that they had gotten, I think, 9 fewer submissions compared to last year. So yeah, we don't really know a whole lot, but we do know that the final will take place in February. Um, might I say the 11th? So yeah, let's just look out for that. I guess we don't know a whole lot, but what we do know is the names for Lithuania's national selection Pabandomish Naujo, which is taking place, whose final is taking place on the 18th of February, and there will be 2 heats and 2 semifinals before that. And the 2 heats will have 15 participants each. There's a bunch of returnees, including Gabrasi, who was in PIN 2021 and 2022. If you remember the song "Into Your Arms," that was his song last year. We also have Monica Linhite, who represented Lithuania in 2015. So yeah, those are some of the names. I can't remember a whole lot of the other ones. So yeah, let's move on to Malta, who are having the national final MESC, and it will take place on, wait for it, the 11th of February. Now, the names of the songs have, as well as the artists, have all been revealed, and there will actually be quarterfinals for MESC, as if the show itself wasn't laborious enough to watch already. I suspect they really just did this for the ad revenue. But anyway, there's a bunch of returning names. I think one of the more exciting ones would probably be Aiden with the song Regina. I think last year, his song was named Ritmu last year, and this time he's brought a song named Regina. And allegedly he changed his label, and that label allegedly does good things for Eurovision. So we'll wait and see. So yeah, if you care, you can keep an eye out for Aiden and his song. And with Moldova, we know absolutely nothing. The Moldovan broadcaster has practically said nothing like since the grand final of Eurovision 2022. We don't know if there's going to be auditions. We don't know if they're going to go internal. We don't know if there's going to be a national final. Nothing. Um, we didn't even know that they were going to be participating until the official participant list was revealed. So, yeah, no clue what's going to happen. But I do remember there was one rumored name for Moldova who had been in the national final in 2019. So, I put that name on the blog, so you can just check it for yourself. So, yeah, that name is possible, but we don't know anything yet. Um, as opposed to the next country, which is the Netherlands, who have selected the duo Mia Nicolai and Dion Cooper to represent them in Liverpool. Now, we don't know the song yet, however, someone found in a song database that their song that they had co-written a song with Duncan Lawrence and uh, some songwriter named I can't remember his name, but yeah. Yeah, anyway, someone found a song that they had co-written with Duncan Lawrence and some other songwriter. Um, and I can't remember the name, but it's on a blog post, so you can just check it out. And there's a pretty good chance that is the song that they're going for. That said, they're not getting exactly the best publicity right now because they're refusing to do interviews with Dutch media. And there's people accusing the broadcaster of nepotism and favoritism. So, yeah, let's see what happens. We don't know when the song's gonna come out either, so yeah, there's that. And with Norway, it's very interesting because they've made a series of huge changes that, on one hand, kind of turns MGP into a just a standard old national final, but also I would argue it makes it a little bit more competitive. First off, duels are removed. There are no such thing as duels anymore in MGP, in Melody Grand Prix. Second, they scaled down the number of heats, basically, or semifinals. I don't know what they called them. It was originally 5, but now it's 3. There's also no more second chance, I think, or what they call sista chansen. That was a thing that they kind of copied from Sweden, but they kind of removed that now. There are gonna be 21 participants. And most importantly, there will be no. Well, that's not actually the most important one, but there will be no pre-qualifiers. So all the artists will have to go through a semifinal to enter the final, which will consist of 9 participants, because there will be 3 qualifiers from each semifinal. And in the final, there will actually be an international jury, which is very interesting. They haven't had a jury in years, and some people argue that it was this focus on the televote that made them not do as well as perhaps they could have done. You know, um, some people argue that songs like "Give That Wolf a Banana" or even Spirit in the Sky were focusing too much on a televote, and as a result, they never did well enough in the jury vote to win. And indeed, in fact, the head of delegation actually said in an interview that he thinks there are 4 songs in Melody Grand Prix this year that could actually win Eurovision. So let's see what happens. I think this is a very much welcomed change to the format, and we'll see if it pays off for them. Next up, we have. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. The songs for Norway will be presented. I think sometime in mid January, just like Finland. But the artists themselves will be presented in early January. So keep an eye out for that. Well, the final of MGP will take place unusually early, if I do say so myself. Usually it's like kind of mid to late February, but this year the final is happening on the 4th of February. So yeah, I think keep an eye out for Norway this year. They might be up to something good. And after that, we have Poland, whose national final has been renamed. I already talked about that in the last episode. But yeah, there's a bunch of interested names which I put on the blog post. You can check them out for yourself. We don't really know when the songs will come out yet or the artists. So yeah, you just check my blog post. That will be updated continuously while this video won't. And for Portugal, we have the songwriters, and among them is Claudia Pascoal, who, of course, represented Portugal on home soil in Lisbon 2018 with the song O Jardim. And this year, she's back at least as a songwriter, but she might be singing her own song. We don't know for sure. One thing I also find kind of interesting is that there's a band in there named You Can't Win Charlie Brown. So yeah, make it out what you will, but I think they will probably announce the singers and the names of the songs soon. But as usual, it's one of the latest national finals that's taking place on the 11th of March instead of February. So yeah, as usual, Portugal being one of the latest countries to select their Eurovision entry. Romania, they're of course still doing Selecția Națională, as I previously mentioned, and it's taking place on the 11th of February. There's not going to be any semifinals or anything. There are 12 artists and 12 songs, because actually one of the songs hasn't even found an artist. So yeah, that's kind of chaotic to say the least. So yeah, they're gonna have 12 songs. And one of them, ironically, someone found is actually a cover, which I'm pretty sure is not allowed. So I don't know what they're gonna do in the event that that song wins. So yeah, let's see what happens. There's one song that while it hasn't been released, with Romania, there isn't really a song release schedule. But this year, one of the songs that's getting a little bit of attention is called Blah Blah Blah, I think, or Blah Blah, something like that. Um, the writer and singer of the song teased a segment on her TikTok, I think, and it was getting a little bit of hype. So yeah, let's see what happens. Regardless, the team at TVR has actually changed for Selectia Națională, and even though so far the quality of the songs released isn't great, they're still trying to give more publicity to Selectia Națională as well as Eurovision in general. So I hope that works out for them, and we'll see what happens in the next few months. Now, moving on to San Marino, they're going back to their format named Una Voce per San Marino, and right now they're having auditions as usual. And there aren't a whole lot of rumored names really. If you remember that Loco Loco guy from last year, well, he's back with a song whose lyrics were written by the Sanja Vucic from Hurricane. So make it out what you will. And speaking of Hurricane, our next country is Serbia, who presumably are doing their national final as usual, Pesma za Euroviziju. However, we don't know a whole lot, except they got 800, 900 something submissions. Although that will be quickly whittled down to maybe about 200. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, and hopefully they don't kind of, overload us with all the songs this time. I think they had like 40 something songs last year. That was crazy. I don't think I listen to them all. And if they do that again this year, I don't think I'm gonna listen to them all either. Um, but yeah, regardless, allegedly the new revamped Hurricane with three different girls are interested in the national final, but we'll see what happens. Um, and from one Balkan country to another Balkan country, Slovenia. Now, normally Slovenia would be doing their national final, EMA, but just a few weeks ago, the Slovene broadcaster RTV Slo randomly did a press conference and announced the Slovene representative for Eurovision 2023, which are named Joker Out. As you can see right here, Joker Out, who are a band in Slovenia, obviously, who are based in Ljubljana, I think. And they, despite their English name, they actually sing pretty much exclusively in Slovene, and they have in fact promised that their song for Liverpool will be in Slovene, and the song will be released on the 4th of February next year. They say that their song is I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like um, retro and sexy or something like that. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you check out the performance of Zitia Boni by the lead singer of Joker Out named Boyan. He did this crazy performance of Zitia Boni on, I think, EMA Fresh. I'll link it in the description, and yes, just crazy, and I think we can be expecting something really good from Slovenia for 2023. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And now we'll move on to Sweden. Of course, they're doing Melody Festivalen, and their names were revealed earlier this month. Some of the returnees include Victoria, spelled with a W, and of course the one that everyone's talking about, Lorraine. And she's coming with a song that was co-written by the songwriters of Euphoria, as well as Cassiopeia from last year, with the song I Can't Get Enough. So yeah, there's also some of the other names like Jon Henrik Fjellgren, and also I can't actually remember a whole lot of them at this point, but yeah, a ton of returning names, a couple of new names. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm mostly hyped for Victoria. So yeah, let's see what happens. And with Switzerland, as usual, we know pretty much nothing except one of the international jurors for Switzerland this year posted, I think earlier this month, that their selection process is almost complete. However, as usual, we won't really get to know the result until early March or so. So yeah, there's not really much to look out for. You can put March in your calendar if you want to, but there's going to be a lot happening around then. So whatever. And for the Big Five, or Big Six in this case, France. People are expecting that C'est vous qui décidez will happen. However, we haven't gotten any news whatsoever. With Germany, we're having Unser Lied for Liverpool, and this year they've started up a TikTok wildcard. And yeah, I already posted on the blog several names from the TikTok wildcard that could get selected, but we'll have to see what happens. The German delegation also say they're trying to contact bigger names who are surprisingly not averse to participating in the national final. But they're also allegedly looking at possibly adding a jury, but that's not been confirmed yet. Regardless, the national final itself will take place in March. For Italy, we'll be having the usual Festival di San Remo, and the names of the song. The names of the singers as well as their songs were revealed earlier this month. Um, Currently, some of the favorites include Madame, and yeah, honestly, I can't remember anything else. Well, no, there's a bunch, but the only one I can remember right now is Madame, with the song Il Bene nel Male, I think it's called. Um, so yeah, Madame, and a bunch of other returnees as well, including Tananai. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, and it's happening on the 11th of February. Just another date to add to your Super Saturday. And with Spain, they are going back to Benidorm Fest. All of the songs have been released now. Although the final is only set to take place in February, the 4th of February to be exact. And some of the favorites right now include Fusa Nocta, Agone, Megara, and Blanca Paloma. Yes, she's back from last year, although with a very different song from what I've heard. I haven't actually listened to the songs yet, but I will do so shortly. And for Ukraine, they had their national final as I record this last Saturday. Um, in the metro station, in the Independence Square metro station in Kiev, which was very unique. But nonetheless, they put on a pretty good show. Um, and despite Krutz as well as Jerry Hale being two of the initial favorites, Tvorchi finally won out with the song named "Heart of Steel," um, and this becomes our first confirmed song for Eurovision 2023. Um, Tvorchi actually already did Vidbeer in 2020, and they were after the show had ended and they had not won, they kind of complained that Go A um, had been the show had basically been rigged for Go A to win. Um, we don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, they were pretty much acting like sore losers. And quite ironically, this year we also have our fair share of sore losers, as Krut actually complained to UAPBC that the lead vocalist named Jeffrey was actually singing with a backing vocal layered on his actual vocal, um, and that allegedly their record label were also operating in Russia, and UAPBC reviewed those claims and found that they were not true, or basically, well, no, the backing vocal thing was true, but basically they were like, it happens, okay, so just give it a break. And they found that the record label claim was not true, so the claim was dropped. And it's funny that the sore losers in 2020 were Tvorchi, and 3 years later, um, 3 years later they win Vidbeer. So maybe 3 years later we'll see Krut finally win Vidbeer, but who knows? I mean, Vidbeer, Tvorchi said after 2020 that they were done with Eurovision, but I mean, look, they're here now. They even won Vidbeer, so yeah, let's see what happens, because Krutz also made a similar message after Vidbeer 2023. But yeah, let's see what happens. Um, but the general reception of Heart of Steel right now in the fan community is that it's not particularly strong, particularly because it's not like immediately recognizable as something that would come from Ukraine. So make it out what you will. So yeah, but regardless, this song will go to Vidbeer after what 3 years of the Vidbeer winner of that year not being able to go to Eurovision or something like that. So yeah, Tvorchi will be representing Ukraine in Liverpool with the song "Heart of Steel." And I believe this is the first time since since 2018 that they have had a song that is 100% not in Ukrainian. So that's interesting. And finally, for the host country, the UK. Now, we haven't had a whole lot. However, the Daily Mail has reported on rumors that a certain Molly Rainford might be representing the UK at Eurovision 2023. Molly Rainford is 22, and she recently appeared on Strictly Come Dancing as one of the finalists. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's pretty much it for all the countries. But now let's talk about the other countries. The other countries that are not participating in Eurovision 2023. Andorra. Now, that's pretty straightforward. They said they're not going to do Eurovision in the short or medium term, so that's a bit of a shame. Bosnia and Herzegovina is interesting because in an interview with the Eurotrip podcast, Fazla, who was the first Bosnian representative at Eurovision, actually said that he is working, because he works in politics now, he is working to get Bosnia and Herzegovina back to Eurovision. And in fact, he says that this could be done as quickly as 2024. So we'll see what happens, but personally, I'm not that hopeful because this is not just funding issues, it's about inter-ethnic conflicts. So yeah, I talk about this a little bit more on the blog post, but basically Fazla is trying to get Bosnia and Herzegovina back to Eurovision, and it would be great if they did, but I don't think it's all that likely. Bulgaria, they are not doing Eurovision, and according to what BNT are saying, they might not do it for a couple more years because allegedly they're not interested. Luxembourg. Now, this is a very interesting one. Now, even though it doesn't actually mention it here, of course, RTL, the Luxembourgish broadcaster, says that they are focusing on news and current affairs, but the current Prime Minister of Luxembourg, named Xavier Bettel, has said that he actually formed a group in the government to get Luxembourg back to Eurovision. And in fact, he has been contacting RTL to facilitate this as quickly as 2024. Wow, it's very sudden because, for the entirety of the 21st century, Luxembourg has been saying, oh, the Big Five, that's not fair. Oh, the televote, it disadvantages small countries, yada yada. But then suddenly, the Prime Minister of Luxembourg is saying that he wants Luxembourg back at Eurovision and, complete the Benelux at Eurovision. So, yeah, that could be really interesting. We'll just have to see what happens. I hope they do because other than Morocco, Luxembourg is the only country that has participated in Eurovision before 2000 and has not come back in some shape or form in the 2000s. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think it's a very exciting time for Luxembourg, especially since we don't know how they're gonna select their act. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope they succeed. And speaking of rich countries that haven't been in Eurovision for a while, Monaco. Originally, they were gonna launch their new public broadcaster this year. However, it was delayed to 2023, so we might. And in fact, they actually allocated 100,000 euros for taking part in Eurovision. So let's see what happens. I hope the broadcaster actually gets launched in 2023, so we can see them back in 2024. Yeah, that would be great, actually. Luxembourg and Monaco back in the same edition. Of course, Monaco was most recently in Eurovision in 2006. However, they didn't qualify and didn't do particularly well. But speaking of countries, small countries that start with M and end with O, Montenegro. Yeah, apparently Inisa, from who represented New York in the American Song Contests, said that she was supposed to represent Montenegro in Eurovision 2023 with the song Ole. Um, now you might be wondering what's New Yorker got to do with Montenegro? Well, the answer is that it turns out her parents are Albanians, ethnic Albanians that were born in the town uh, near the Albanian border in Montenegro. So yeah, there's a very, very tenuous link there. So yeah, make it out what you will, but it would have been cool to see Montenegro be represented by an ethnic Albanian. Um, so yeah, we're unfortunately not going to see that because obviously, financial issues. They aren't able to fund her participation. So alas, and kind of the same case with North Macedonia, except we don't have any like big names trying to represent North Macedonia. So yeah, at least the good thing is that they're just their view is to return in 2024. They're just they're just sitting they're just sitting out the 2023 contest because they don't have the money to afford it. In Slovakia, well, we're not really surprised, are we? But even though they changed their new director general, who was a little bit more Eurovision sympathetic, but maybe they just didn't have the funding. I don't know. So yeah, no Slovakia. Maybe next year. Who knows? And Kazakhstan. They said that their participation was going to be very much dependent on their result at Junior Eurovision 2022. But as we all know now, they got bottom two. They got bottom two. Sorry, I will do a Junior Eurovision 2022 review later. Depends on how much I want to say. So yeah. Anyway, Kazakhstan said that they their participation at Junior Eurovision 2022 would have a significant impact on their chance of debuting in 2023. So I guess we're not seeing Kazakhstan in Liverpool then. All right. Kosovo. Well, good luck with that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And you can also see here, North Macedonia are broadcasting. They are broadcasting Eurovision 2023 on MRT. However, they're not participating, unfortunately. So yeah, we hope we'll see them back in 2024. The more the merrier and all that. Oh, and I forgot to talk about Turkey. Apparently, several politicians in Turkey, mostly opposition politicians, are suggesting that if they get elected and Erdogan's government gets voted out, then we could be seeing Turkey return to Eurovision in 2024, as the elections, I think, are taking place next year in 2023. But I don't know exactly the situation. So yeah, imagine that we could see in 2024 the return of North Macedonia, Luxembourg, Monaco, and Turkey. Wow. And maybe even Montenegro. Who knows? So yeah, absolutely crazy. We'll just have to see what happens. So yeah, that's Turkey. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What I have written here. Although I have written more stuff on the blog post, link in the description. For example, the pre-parties that we know about so far, and yeah, things like that that you won't find on the Wikipedia page. You can check my blog post for it, and yeah, that's pretty much it about what we know so far of the Eurovision Song Contest 2023 as of late December of 2022. So this probably won't be my last video of 2022, but regardless, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And like this video if you enjoyed my commentary. Subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming videos, which will probably include a kind of Junior Eurovision 2022 review. And I'll see you next time.